Good morning. We've already got a quorum, so let's elect the chairman, Mr. Dennis Kwok. I nominate Mr. Albert Ho. Ms. Priscilla Leong seconds. Any other nominations? Right, I accept the nomination. All right, let's invite the administration in. Good morning. We have Principal Assistant Secretary for Home Affairs, Ms. Fong, and then Deputy Director, Ms. Chong, and also we have the Assistant Director. This is an annual exercise. And it's the adjustment in line with the CPI. Yes, Ms. Fong? Yes, Chairman, this is a technical amendment. We hope to, by resolution, amend the amounts of financial resources for OLAS and SLAS. For OLAS, the existing limit is 260,000. SLAS, 1.3 million. And the CPIC for the review period was 3.7%. And so we are proposing that the FEL be adjusted upwards by 3.7%. So in other words, for the OLAS, the proposed limit will be 269,620. Then for the SLAS, 1.3481 million. And of course, we look at the net asset value, and there are deductions including rentals, mortgage payments, salaries tax, and the value of the residential unit of the applicant will not be taken into account. So for those who have grants to they will not be barred from seeking justice because of the lack of means. In fact, we have a comprehensive review. We look at the limits, asset limits, the financial resources limits of 150,000, 260,000, and then for the SLAS from 488,000 to 1.3 million. And we will, in the next session, report to the AGLS panel of this council. Yes, Assistant Director, do you have anything to add? No. Mr. Dennis Kwok, Chairman. So I just want to know the progress of the review. And when will we be able to see the outcome of the review? Because for OLAS and SLAS, the coverage is very narrow, and many people are unable to hire lawyers under the OLAS and SLAS, and as a result, we have a lot of unrepresented litigants in court, and that would also exert some pressure on the workload of the judiciary. Yes, Chairman. At the end of November last year, LegCo agreed to expand the SLAS to include sale and purchase of first-hand property, labor tribunal awards, and so on and so forth. And in December last year, Finance Committee injected $100 million into the SLAS fund. Concerning this expanded scheme, it has been operation for half a year only, and so we are collecting information about new applicants and also the financial implications on the fund. We have an LASC comprising representatives from the two legal professional bodies. And they will and I understand that the LASC will give recommendations to the council, and then we will look at the new applications, the implications for the fund, and so on and so forth, and we'll report the progress to the AGLS panel in the next session. So about when? Now, because there will be a meeting between the director and the chairman of the LASC. So in October this year, in fact, the SHA and also the AGLS panel chairman and director of Legal Aid will discuss the agenda for the meetings in 2013-2014. So the 5-year review is an overall review, not just on the eligibility for application. So the 5-year review is about the FEL. But then with regard to the scope of the SLAS, we will report to the AGLS panel. Because last time the two legal professional bodies expressed concerns about the scope of the scheme, whether, for example, defamation should be covered. And last time this request was rejected. Now, the OLAS covers most cases above the level of district court, except certain accepted proceedings, for example, defamation. So concerning the FEL, we will report to the AGLS panel. And concerning the scope of the schemes, again, we'll report back to the AGLS panel. In fact, the Bar Association has proposed that certain types of cases be covered by SLAS. So I would really look forward to the outcome of the review. Mr. Wong Yuk-man. Now concerning the FEL, we have 1 year, 2 years, 5 years. And we're told that for the 2012 review period, the CPIC rose by 3.7%. And I think it's just it's a minimum requirement. You can't just talk about a 3.7%. You still have to look at increases in legal costs. CPIC. I want to know the relationship between the CPIC and legal costs in the market. What I mean is that the 3.7% increase can't catch up with the increase in legal costs or legal fees. This is the first point. Second, for the FEL, the limit for OLAS will be increased from 260,000 to 269,620. As an SLAS, from 1.3 million to 1.3481 million. But then concerning disposable income and disposable assets, I understand that the self-occupied flat is not included in disposable assets. And so, as you have this arrangement across the board, it will be unfair to those who rent premises to live. And also, the recipients under SLS have to make some contributions. My assistant was in a JR case, but then the contribution he had to pay was 2 to 3 times his salary, or his salary is low because if the salary is high, then he may not be eligible for legal aid at all. And then the contribution is equivalent to several months of his salary, and as a result, we have to try to raise money for him. So we want the scheme to be fair. I understand that the contribution has to be made in installments, and now we've reached the final installment. I think the administration should tell us the relationship between the CPIC and the legal fees in the market. And then self-occupied flats. And also those who rent flats live. And then third, the contributions under the supplementary scheme.
Thank you, Chairman. Let me talk about the review first. As Mr. Wong has put it, this is an annual exercise to make adjustment in line with the CPIC so as to maintain the real value of the FELs. So this is in line with inflation. We also got a 2-year review and a 5-year review. We'll look at the costs or fees asked by lawyers in doing litigations. So we are going to go to the AJLS panel in 2013 and 2014 and to update them of the progress of the 2-year review and the 5-year review. So next year, there will be another proposal for the adjustment of the index in relation to legal cost. Yes. So this is an annual exercise. It's just done in line with the inflation, but for the 2-year or the review done every 2 years and so on, there will be something to take into account legal costs. What about last year? Well, since there was a big increase last year through the review, an increase of 48%. So last year it was already covered under the OALS. It was 48%. Well, now to get actual figures. In the previous round, you took into account the market, the legal fees, and there was a big adjustment upwards. And now you have inflation. So in the future, are you going to do something to keep up with the increase in legal costs? And what are the factors that you will take into account. I was not involved. Maybe I was not a member of this subcommittee, so I didn't participate in that round of discussion. So in the next review, how are you going to keep up with the rate of increase in legal costs? We are going to get information from the two legal professional bodies and from the court. Contributions. I'll talk about the principle, and then Ms. Chung will talk about the actual implementation. We look at the financial resources of the applicants, and then we set a percentage. For example, we look at the asset, and we set a percentage to represent the contribution required. I would like to defer to Ms. Chung for the actual operation. Well, if you live in your own flat, then the value is not taken into account. But what about if you are a tenant? Say if you rent a flat, and every month you pay rent, including the management fee you pay, will be deducted from the income. And if you own your flat, then we would disregard that in the calculation of your asset. So we do take into account whether the flat is owned by the applicant. From our data gathered over the years, if an applicant is successful in getting legal aid, over 80% of them do not have to pay any contribution, or if they have to pay a contribution, it's around $2,000. As regards that particular case involving your assistant, we have been acting in a reasonable manner. We take into account the salary and also all the deductible amounts. And as Mr. Wong has said, if the applicant has some difficulty in paying the contribution at one go, we allow that be done in installments. As long as the first installment is paid, the legal aid certificate will be issued so as to kickstart the litigation or the defense. We are not going to wait until all the amount due is paid. Let me follow up the case. But originally, I would have thought that it's not appropriate to discuss individual cases. But I think the case I know may be representative. My assistant was asked to pay $20,000. Well, I'm sure that he could not afford it. And now he has to pay it in installments, and we have to try to raise funds for him. That's a litigation about the electoral law. Is not a private matter. He just wants to query the electoral law, and his application for judicial review was accepted by the court. Subsequently, he was rather hesitant. He couldn't afford to pay the contribution. You might have your formula to calculate the contribution, but he just couldn't afford it. I'm not just trying to argue for him. I'm just asking for the improvement in the system, because you want to help the applicant. How come the contribution is so high? Unless you say this is a human rights case, and then human rights case doesn't take into account assets. In calculating the applicant's assets, we look at the income, investment, or bank savings, and so on. In Hong Kong, we take into account both aspects, unlike other countries. Other countries, for example, the UK, they look at income and asset separately, and the applicant has to pass both tests. In Hong Kong, we take into account the two things together. In other words, his assistant has assets but earns a low salary. Well, I don't want to argue. It's already an ongoing case. But I thought since I was here and I will be raising something relevant to our agenda item, I'm not trying to reopen the case. Concerning those other points, the review to be conducted next year will cover those things, I suppose, and we are very concerned about those factors. So it's next year, 2014. Please be prepared. We are going to ask you lots of questions. Any other questions? Okay, so we have two figures that we are concerned. Well, this is a limited revision. There's nothing much we can amend it. So what's the timetable? If members have no further questions, we are going to ask the SHA to issue a notice on the 5th of June for the tabling of the resolution. And then there will be a discussion at the House Committee on the 14th of June. And if that's okay, the SHA will move the resolution on the 26th. At a council meeting, and then it will be gazetted on the 28th of June. Will it commence immediately? Well, there will be a commencement notice. This is under negative vetting. We haven't set a commencement date now. We need to gazette a commencement notice on the 5th of July. And again, that's also subject to negative vetting. Commencement notices are also subject to negative vetting. And if LegCo does not convene a subcommittee on the commencement notice, so the earliest commencement day will be in July. Well, yes, if it's delayed, then many people may be denied legal aid. Okay, we have to submit a report to the House Committee on the 14th of June. We need to act quickly to make it possible to commence early. Legal advisor, I want to clarify a point. Last time, you gave us a notice for the resolution. You did not mention that a commencement notice will be required to commence the new limits. It's not in the previous resolution, in the notice. So it's not going to commence on the day of Gazetto. There will be a separate commencement notice. Please make sure that this is specified in the notice. We are going to work out the arrangement with the Secretariat. After this resolution is changed, the limits will be changed, and then there will be another commencement notice. We understand the subcommittee is in support of this. We are going to work something out with the Secretariat and the Director of Admin. All right, so that's all for this meeting. Thank you.